Forward. Yeah. Okay. So snatch prerequisites are going to include your deadlift, your kettlebell clean, your like swing clean, as well as your just dead clean from the floor, your overhead press, and your single arm swing. And there's a reason why kind of all of these are prerequisites to the kettlebell snatch that we're building up to. And I'll kind of talk and touch on that more, but those are the movements. So like scale 1 to 10, like how confident would you say you're feeling in like the deadlift, the clean, the single arm swing? Is there one more than the other maybe that you are like unsure about? Or are you just like, yeah, I'm awesome with those?
I think I feel like I definitely get, okay, so I'm thinking of the one that I feel like I'm the least flexible at is when I'm trying to get like this and then going, because I feel like there's a certain weight that I could get to, but then I don't feel like confident, right? Like, especially as things get heavier, it's like, I don't feel confident in doing it.
Yeah. The overhead press.
Yeah. The overhead press.
Yeah.
When it gets heavier. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I know it's tricky. So now knowing that, I will work that in and make sure that we touch on that a lot. Okay. Cool. So I'm just going to work straight down the list, and please stop, interrupt as you need to. So the first thing, and you can hear me okay? Because I backed up now, but I have a mic. So, all right. The first thing is going to be the deadlift or the hip hinge. So we have a range of movement patterns, right? Movement patterns up here, and all exercise comes from those movement patterns. So you have your squat, your hinge, your lunge, and then your push or pull, horizontal or vertical. Those are all the movement patterns, and any exercise that you can think of bundles up somewhere under those. So the hinge is one of these major movement patterns, and the hinge is going to be sending the booty back, whereas the squat would be kind of dropping the booty down. So we can see the main difference is you keep soft knees and you send your glutes back and you feel it in your hamstrings, and that's your hinge. If you have deep knee flexion and your knees and your hips are in alignment, that is your squat. And so the kettlebell revolves around the hinge pattern, or that kind of like deep bent over position. You see it in the swing, you see it in the deadlift, you see it even in the snatch, right? So any questions there? Thumbs up if we're good. Yeah, awesome. Don't want to spend too long on it. So I just want to go over like two very foundational things for that positioning. And the first one's going to be your foot position. So our feet have a lot of sensories, and we want to make sure that our big toe, little toe, and like heel are all grounded in, and we have a nice solid base. Like if a football lineman was to come tackle us, we'd be good, right? Like we are gripping the floor, because when we execute that hinge, we want to think of like an arrow that's going to radiate up our body and transfer that power up, right? Then the next thing is going to be where the bell starts. So we want the bell to start by our ankle bones, because if it's too far in front of us, we're going to be lifting from our glutes out of that kettlebell position. So you really do want to make sure that the bell is between your ankle bones, and then you're just pushing the floor away and putting it right back down between your ankle bones, okay? So that's going to be for any of your deadlifts with the kettlebell. It's sitting nice and far back. This also teaches us to pack our lats in. So we have our feet going, we have it by our ankle bones, and we're pretending to snap the kettlebell in half, like snapping a twig. And you can see how that takes my shoulders from elevated to depressed, right? And then the only thing we have left is to exhale as you push the floor away. So inhale down, exhale up. The one thing about the kettlebell is you're really going for sending your glutes back. So it doesn't really matter if you're touching the floor, right? I think that's the difference between a lot of barbell work is, it's so heavy, it's so wide that you're kind of like hitting the floor between each rep. With the kettlebell, you really just want to make sure glutes are going back and glutes are coming up, right? If you did want to go a little heavier, then I would just make sure that when you're starting, you're shifting that weight back into your glutes. And if you bounce around a little, you'll be able to feel your hamstrings and your booty. That's my biggest cue, is make sure that you're not just starting the deadlift from here, because I didn't feel anything, right? I didn't set my weight with a posterior weight shift, where I kind of was like, okay, I can literally feel my butt cheeks right now, and then push away. All right. So that is your kettlebell deadlift. You want to set your feet and your ankles up, break the handle in half, do a little bouncy bounce to make sure your weight is shifted to your heels and your booty, and then push the floor away with an exhale. All right, whole thing. Would you like to try some reps? Let me know if you want me to look at your form, give you some feedback and tips, or just thumbs up if you feel like I'm really good with that. Thumbs up. Beautiful. Thank you. Cool. So the only other drill that I have for that one that's going to relate to the actual snatch is holding a single arm deadlift. So if you hold the corner of your bell, not actually on the corner, but right before the corner, it's in your right hand and it's on the inside corner, and you push away, this is a good prerequisite to the clean that we're about to do, okay? So from here to here, that's step one of our clean, right? Cool. So the kettlebell clean is what we're about to go into. The clean is a transitional movement. It gets it into the racked position where you know that you can press from, you can swing from, you can do everything with the clean, and that's why I think it's so important. It's also the thing that frustrates people the most because they hit the palm. So we're gonna build off the clean with a series of 10 drills, okay? So here are our drills for the kettlebell clean. Number one, we're going to talk about the difference between a hook grip and a diagonal. So this is your hook grip, which is where you start your clean from, right? You usually are starting with it facing you, you're on the floor, but your hook grip is when it is in that bottom part of your hand, okay? And then we know that as we pull the bell up and in, we transfer it over to the diagonal. So we're always in the snatch and the clean going from hook grip to diagonal with it sliding across our palm. And this is the most important part so that it doesn't flop over and hit us, right? And that's where people get frustrated. So we're gonna try a half kneeling little exercise here where you have the opposite leg in front just to stabilize. You're gonna find your hook grip with your dominant arm and just put your other hand there. You're kind of cradling it, but it is mostly on your main arm that's gonna clean. And then you're gonna keep a nice open grip and just let it transfer up. You should be able to hold it with your fingertips up, open palm, open everything, right? And then you just bring it back down and you find that hook grip. So from the hook to the palm. And this is kind of called a cheat clean. So you can use the other hand to kind of close that gap and just guide it up and down. That's the biggest part right here. Just making sure it rolls over into the diagonal. That's it, right? Cool. Let me see you do 1 or 2 reps here. Hold on, got to get my view back to gallery. You're good. Let's see it. Okay, nice. So on your next rep, keep that elbow down. See how it's just really tucked in? Yeah. So you want to think about your thumbs being by your collarbone. So if you were just holding the bell here, you'd be able to kind of point towards your collarbone. Right now you're going up here, right? So we want to see the bell just placed right here where it sits between your bicep and your forearm in this nice racked position. So it's just right there. Good. Yes, down a little. Yeah. Elbows tucked into your side. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Does that feel good? There it is. There she is. Yes. So that is the position that we're looking for the clean. Good. Perfect. Nice. Okay. And you feel like you could hold it there for a while. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. That's good. You know what? Definitely, it's a nice pointer. That's good. That's good to know.
Good.
Where it's like this. It's really supposed to be like here.
Yeah, exactly. You're supposed to have elbow tucked in, right?
Yeah.
And then so it's kind of like bicep is tucked, almost like you were doing a bicep curl. And then your thumbs point to you, like you're like, oh, I'm the MVP. I always like to say, like,
Oh.
and it's just a closed grip like this, maybe with like a tiny bit of flexion inwards, so that the bell's not coming out, right? Because some people tend to let their wrists go. So just everything nice and tight. We want to avoid elbows coming up or elbows coming up or wrists coming out.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that clear up the?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. I love it. So we're going to move on to our second drill. Let me make sure you can see me, which is going to be from the standing position. So now we're going to go into pretty much the same thing we did. It's just going to be guiding the bell with our hands. So from here, elbow back, and then let it come through to the top. So what it looks like is you're from here. This looks like our deadlift, right? Like we're almost pulling up like the deadlift. We're sending the elbow back, and then we're helping the bell rotate into our racked position. That's it. So that's the second drill that you could try. Boom, boom, just like that, okay? So there's drill number 2. It's kind of we're just taking what we did on the floor and moving it to standing. Oh my God, how cute. Hello, friend. I love it, adorable. All right, so that is I'm just pinning myself again. Boom, speaker view. Oh, I don't know what to do. Whoops. Oh, shoot. I think you're pinned somehow. I don't know how, though. How do I unpin you? Oh, remove pin. There we go. I figured it out. I'm a little technology challenged. All right. So the next one, after you kind of practice this up motion, is for the kettlebell clean. You always want your elbow to come back, okay? Because when we're talking about the 3 big movements, right? Clean, swing, and deadlift, one of the things they have is completely different arcs. So the clean is going to be the closest to your body. It's zipping right up, nice and close. The snatch is going to be a little bit away from you. Your elbow is going to be bent, and it's going to kind of be, a little bit away from you. And then your swing is going to be the furthest away from you. So what we want to practice with the clean is getting that elbow back and up. Because if the elbow goes just up and over, we're going to end up pounding our wrist with the bell. So we keep it really close to our body. So one of the drills I like to do for that is called the Gunslinger, where you start with the bell horizontal and you just pull it in right here. So what's going to end up happening is your hand is right here when you're starting, and then when you're stopping, you're just kind of like holding it here, right? So what's going to happen is it's going to look like this. You can use the same amount of like hip power and just catch it. 1, 2, 3, and you can see how far back the elbow is there, right? And then once you kind of do that gunslinger and have the elbow back, it's just a very short transition to getting it around your wrist, right? So we're going to marry those 2 together. We're going to marry going from elbow back to the vertical position. And how we do that is a dead clean. So with body weight, it's going to go. Cool. So inhale to start, and then you exhale as you snap the hips, elbow back, and you just guide it straight up from there. So we have hook, 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 hook. The bell starts to transition, racked position. So I'll show you about 5 of those nice and quick. Starting here, 1, right? 2, 3, elbows coming back, 4, 5. All right, awesome. Let's let you try it. Give me a, let's see it. Let's see it. So I want you to get the most out of this. Yeah, awesome.
So you go like this here, like here, and then, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna try to do this like this.
So
way.
that is for the gunslinger, right? I was just showing you that we want the elbow to be back. But when you start the actual clean, it's going to be horizontal, and you're going to be holding this outside area or closer to that outside area.
And then, oh shoot, am I doing that right?
Yes.
And
So
then,
good. I think when you're at the bottom, it could help. I can't really see, but I think you might be a little bit more towards the middle. I want you to go towards the left side of the bell, just a little bit. That way it has room to quickly transition towards that corner. Right?
more.
Yeah, perfect, right there. Good, did that feel easier?
Yeah, that did feel actually this.
Yeah, so you don't need to be like exactly, you don't need to be like on the corner. It's just like right before that corner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here.
Boom, elbow back. Good, that looks awesome. Yeah, let me see one more from the top. Oh yeah, so good. Yeah, I love how you fixed that yourself. You were like, oh, my elbow's up a little bit, and you pulled it in. Yeah, good. That's it. Nice. I love that. We cleaned it up.
Yeah, no, that's great. This is really helpful. Really
I
helpful.
love that. I always say it only takes somebody explaining a kettlebell to you like once, and you kind of like go, like it just clicks, and then you're good to go on your own, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to build on that and do the swing clean. Okay. So this part is going to be, before you do a kettlebell clean where you're kind of like swinging it, or before you do a single arm swing, you have to somehow get the bell up. So usually that's with a hike. You hike it nice and high, and then you just start your swings, or you hike and you clean, and then you just do your swing cleans, right? But the best way to get the bell off the ground is going to be that hike, because a lot of people will just pick the bell up and start swinging it. But the issue there is now you're sort of involving your back and your lower back and gaining some of that momentum for the swing rather than your hips and your feet. So we want to be able to, if we're hiking it back, it allows us to kind of power off into any position, right? Like you should not know at this point whether I'm going to clean, swing, snatch, whatever. So the setup will always be the same. And it's going to be a triangle position. So you can kind of just take a little step back, spread out your feet, and you have a triangle where the bell's in front of you. All right, so your feet and the bell make that triangle. Then you're going to get into what I call a squatty hinge. So a normal swing, you'd be hinging over normally. But for the very first rep, you drop your hips lower. You're getting real low, right? And then you can kind of do that same thing where you bounce and you can make sure you feel your glutes and your hammies. The bell, you want to make sure isn't out here, because if it's out here, what happens? I lose this and I'm leaning forward. So you want to drag the bell towards you until your shoulder is packed in. See how like I'm not leaning towards one side, I'm not all the way out here. My shoulder's just nice and tight as if I have something under my armpit. So this is your starting position for your swing, clean, or clean, right? So the next thing we do is hike the bell back nice and high behind us. Boom. You want it to come out the other end behind you. I should be able to like hold a clipboard here, and every time you hike back, you tap it, okay? You wanna try a few? Yeah, good. Yep, maybe one more. Yes, perfect. Now you can relax. I know it's like a crazy position for your thighs. Okay, so what goes wrong here? A couple of things might go wrong here. The first is having your starting position and lifting your hips when you're doing that hike, okay? Because some people just want that relief and they'll just lift. So we don't want that. And the second thing is going too low with your hike. So like going here, this is the green zone. From your coochie to your knees, you want your hike to be nice and high. Like ideally, your arm connects with the side of your body. And again, you can see it out here, right? So like you can feel that connect right there happening. If it's too low, our back's going to be rounded when we go for that swing. So that's what we want to see. Now, the next part of that is a huge exhale to snap your hips. You could be snapping your hips to go to your swing. You could be snapping your hips to clean. But it's just, they're both hip dominated movements, okay? The swing is going to be the most powerful hips, and the clean is just, you're just getting a nice upwards trajectory. So it looks like this, boom, hike, elbow back, okay? So we want to make sure we're set up, big inhale, elbow comes back. That is the swing into the clean. Yeah, so start it in front of you. Make sure the bell is part of your arm, so it's angled. Hike, pull up. Nice. Good. One more time, keep that elbow nice and far back. Okay. Oops, your iPhone might have low battery because the video just turned off. Yeah. Okay, let's see it. Good. Nice, pull that elbow back. Yes, okay. So I'm not sure, what might be happening is we might be death gripping a little bit and letting the bell flip over. Yeah. So what we need to remember is when we kind of practiced that transition, right? We never want to death grip the bell. We want to, at this point, boom, whoop, it's the same thing. A nice, smooth, clean. So yes, your grip is tight back here, but the second it gets to your hip, you should be able to like open that palm, right? So I'm like tight, loose as I pull it up. Because it's gotta swing, it's gotta just, yes! Oh my goodness. That's the way, that's the one. Nice, closer, but yeah, we got a little scared. Beautiful. Yeah, your first and that third one looking good. If we go elbow back and you keep the nice loose grip, those two things alone are gonna clean it up. Nice. Oh, hi, friend. Good. Yeah. Is it feeling a little better?
Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh. It's like really like, whoa, I see why. Yeah, it's really good to get it broken down that way, just to kind of even, yeah, I was death gripping.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's great.
I love it. Oh my God. I love that it clicks for you. Yeah. So that's the other thing, because we're afraid when we go back here, but if we keep that, you can see that just plopped, right? Yeah. Versus if I go here and then I loosen my grip, it's just like, woo, open palm, we're good. Yeah. So a little bit of practice there, because if that's happening in your clean, it will happen in your snatch too, because this is like a little bit of power. This is a lot of power. And so if we're gripping throughout this part, then we're going to end up slamming the bell as well. So with the snatch, it's almost like you keep the grip, and once it gets right around here, you kind of loosen it up and sphere your hand through, which that's obviously down the line, but yeah, perfect. Okay, so coming out of the kettlebell clean, because we're spending a lot of time here, I just want to wrap it up for us. You're just going to send your elbow back and it'll naturally fall down. So once it starts to fall, you kind of like wait with your hips, wait, boom, you let your hips also flex over. Yeah, so I think a lot of people just tend to like plop it down, but you kind of want like gravity to do the work and you follow. That's it for the kettlebell clean, I believe. Any other questions about the clean before we move it on? Good, I love it. Yeah, so I just have like common themes here. The first is keep a loose grip when you're transitioning through here so you don't death grip it. The next one is pull that elbow back. Just keep thinking about pulling it back. Video yourself doing that to actually see if your elbow's getting as far back as you think it is. It's hip powered, obviously. And the other one is once you get more comfortable, you can do this like against a wall. I'll do it against the box. And you just stand like elbows distance. Then you back up one step. And we should not be hitting the wall with our clean, which can be a little scary. But if we're doing it right, it'll never hit the wall. So that's a good way of making sure you're keeping it close to your body, nice and tight. All right, we are ready to move on to the press. I know you've been waiting for this one. So the press, it comes from here to here, right? And so we were kind of talking about, I want to start at the beginning. Why is the press important as a prerequisite to the snatch? Because after you snatch, right? So if we're going to snatch, this is your locked out position. This is what happened. Oh my God. Hello, we got a future kettlebell user in the house. Future workout king. All right, I'm so distracted because he's so cute. Okay, so you're gonna go ahead and hold this arm overhead, and this is your final position for goodbye. See you later. for the kettlebell overhead press or for the snatch, right? And you want a nice strong arm, which I see that you have, okay? So let's talk about some of the things that go wrong that I see here. The first is we have to make sure we have the mobility to do the snatch, which you do. That's nice, right? Like my boyfriend can't. He's just like down here the entire time. So one of the things we don't want is the elbow bending, right? We want to see it nice and locked out. A lot of people say like if you put your hand behind your palm behind your neck and then you just like spear your hand up, that's a nice locked out position. Yeah. So there you have it. The other thing is going to be the tension. So obviously we don't want to just be swaying up here. We want tension. So it's almost like if I come and I like push down on you, you're not going anywhere. That's how much tension you want. Because if I was doing nothing with my arm, obviously I can move it. But once that bell's in your hand, everything is tight, right? Like you can squeeze your opposite hand, you can squeeze your glutes and tuck your pelvis, okay? Two other things that I see go wrong up here. The first is the wrist. If the wrist is bent backwards, and I might have seen this for you, then that's going to be pretty painful at the top because we have this overextension of the wrist. So when you're at the top, if your hands are pointing up, you want your fingertips to be able to wave at somebody or at the sky. If they're pointing back, then you're not waving at anybody, right? So hand pointed up, and that means that the diagonal is very important because it's the same diagonal that we find at the top of the press, right? And so we want to take that wrist and really make sure we have it in a good position up here. So let me see you shift that wrist up. Yeah, that's the one. That's the way, okay? Big difference. And then the last thing here, if you're tired, you can relax, is the pelvis. So this, no bueno, right? Because I am arcing my back incredibly, and all the pressure is going into my low back. So you want to tuck kiss your rib cage and your pelvis together and find a neutral position. So we don't want to see people slouching. We don't want to see the over arc. We want to see that nice hips and shoulders stacked and wrists stacked over the hips and the shoulders. So that's like everything that I see go wrong with the overhead press that we want to make sure that we keep in line. The path of the clean, I think is important, or the overhead press, I think is important. So I'll show you this. When you start, right, thumbs are facing you, elbows tucked. What you want to go to is that wave overhead, right? So you're very gently going to start to bring this out and push it up. So it's like a J. And then you have your overhead press. And as you're coming back down, you're slowly starting to drag this bell back in towards your chest. Yeah, perfect. And then thumbs, palms face each other, thumbs face each other. And then it kind of like comes out just slightly for that overhead press where you press it up and then back in. So what I'm seeing happening is on the down part, your wrist is starting to bend because we're letting it go. So we almost have to over exaggerate, keeping that wrist turned in, that flexion. Yes, much better. Perfect. That was really, really quick to clean that up. Awesome. So yeah, I would just always remember you have it up here now, and you got to kind of keep almost over exaggerate, kind of like putting the wrist in until you get down here. Yeah, perfect. So that's your overhead press. And I'm going to talk about what happens with a heavy bell, because that was of like specific concern to you. So here's a 35. I don't know if I have this right now. I'm not warmed up or anything. But when I go to press this, I'm going to take a big inhale, 360 inhale. As I exhale, I'm going to squeeze this hand, squeeze my glutes, engage my core, right? And exhale with a big, because the swing is a power explosive movement, explosive. The overhead press is a grind, which means when we fill up our belly, we're filling up our core with all this power. And when we let it go, we want to do that slowly, because we got a long way to travel to the top. And we need our exhale to help us with that, and our tension to help us with that. So it's like you're relaxed, and then the second that bell moves, everything is squeezed to get overhead, okay? And that means like you should really be making that fist, really be squeezing your glutes. So when I was in my kettlebell certification, one thing they have you do is hold an empty water bottle and you squeeze it, and it makes that like crunchy sound, right? As you go up, so that you know that you're truly squeezing your assisting hand and trying to kind of transferring all that load that you have into your overhead press. The other thing, other than this, that's going to help you get that power is your feet. So we can't have dancing feet when we're doing this. We really need that foundation and the lower body to transfer power to the upper body. So that's why I say feet are gripping the floor, glutes are squeezed, like everything is working. So tension, if there is a leak in your tension, that's when you're not going to be able to press a bell overhead, okay? Second thing before I show you the overhead press is sometimes if a bell's heavy and we're here, we'll start to lean out. So what we need to start to do is push and lean in as we lose the strength of that bell. Like sometimes you might fail at it and you have to bring it back down, but once you're here, that's okay. If you're really trying to PR, you just want to kind of push your body in and get it back to align. So let me show you on my right side. Okay, locked out, fist up. I'm still squeezing everything, and then I bring it back down as I relax. Then on the left side, this side's much harder. So you'll see me lean out and then back in to get it up, okay? So that is really the overhead press. Do you feel like maybe you know where you were losing it with the heavier bells before?
I think that it is leaning out, like,
Yeah.
And not being able to like get it up from that, because there's too much, everything's going towards this way. Like I don't feel like I had that power to get it, but it makes sense.
Back,
yeah.
Do you feel like you were like squeezing everything, like squeezing your glutes, squeezing your fists, and like really, really pushing? Yeah. Okay. So it might just be like building up strength to that bell. For example, here's my 44. I don't know if I could press this over. Yeah, I can't press that overhead. See, I started to get here. So it's just really finding like in between bells. Or the other option is to push press the bell, little dip in the hips and the knees, and push it overhead. And a push press is going to help you build time with that bell overhead while pushing it overhead. But there's a moment where that power helps me get up, right? So it's like my hips slightly go back, I get a dip in the knees, I power up, and I'm there. So the push press is going to be a great option for you if you are in between reps or weights. I would say do the lighter weight that you can handle for a couple reps, and then do the push press weight as well. And your arms will get fatigued and you'll build up that strength. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I just have a few notes here on like mobility and time overhead. So if I am not able to lift my 44-pound, there's a few things I'll be able to do with it before. So I will be able to hold it in the racked position and do like racked marches. And this is going to build time here. This hurts. This is heavy, but I can do it. And I want to be able to press this bell. So I want to build time here. The other thing I can do is kind of walk around and have an overhead walk, or like an overhead farmer's carry with my bell. So I'm building time with my bell here. And the last thing I could do is a Turkish getup with this bell. So if a Turkish getup is in your wheelhouse, go for it. And if not, look out, because that's probably going to be the next tutorial that we do. Yeah, so that is your press. Any other questions about the press?
No, that's just something to practice, definitely.
Good, yay, I love it. Okay, so I have one more thing here, and it's going to be the single arm swing. So for the single arm swing, we're going to go ahead and set up with that same hike position, right? So I have my feet planted, they're gripping the floor. I'm finding my squatty hinge. I'm packing my shoulder in. I'm doing a little bounce to make sure the weight's in my glutes. If I don't feel my hamstrings, I can lift a little bit. Okay, I feel them. So now I got that nice hinge position. And then after you hike back, you're going to exhale with a sharp exhale and come into this kind of standing plank position. It's going to be chest or shoulder level the entire time. This is like a standing plank. I am fully locked out with my glutes squeezed and my hands squeezed. Same thing as this, right? It's this is this. For the overhead press, it's the swing. Now, this is like a moment of tension, a full body tension, where the bell is going to be nice and light. And then that's it. I'm just going to let my body relax. The bell is going to come down. I'm going to hinge my hips back, and I'm going to go for my next rep. That's it, right? So for the swing, one of the things you can do to practice is the dead stop swing, which is going to be 1 rep of this. So big inhale, back, down. Big inhale, back, down. The reason why I like doing this dead stop swing is, 1, it takes a lot of power to do 1 rep. So this is great to add to your workouts as a standalone, right? Like, it's amazing. Just put like a timer on, okay, a 40-20 interval, and one of the moves is a dead stop swing, right? The other reason is I have a lot of clients that will first be learning kettlebell swings, and they're doing their swings, and then they go to stop and they stop like this. No bueno, right? That's not good. So when we stop, we always want to lower the glutes down and come back to where we started. That is the only safe way to get out of a swing, especially as your weight increases, okay? So one of the things I see happen when people come back down with their swing as well is they will go all the way out here with the bell. That's not where you started. You started back here. So you kind of want to have that control, and it can help to put something in front of you to be able to stop where you started right there. Yeah. So yeah, the single arm kettlebell swing, I think one of the things that is going to be really important is just finding that moment of levitation and then letting it fall back down. I don't want to beat a dead horse if you feel comfortable with your swing. So let me know if there's any areas that you want to see more of or in more detail.
Oh no, that was good. I'm going to definitely try that exercise. It looks like, you know what, definitely a, what is it? A culprit of not putting the kettlebell down properly. So I'm going to definitely work on that. But I have a free hand right now. Yeah.
No more. No more, Jen. I love it. I love that. Yeah.
This is really good, by the way. This is so helpful.
Oh, I'm so happy. It's literally like my favorite thing to do is help people with their form, because the thing is, like, you're perfectly capable of it. Like, you're already doing the movements, you're already lifting weights. it's just frustrating when you're like not 100% sure if you're right or not, it just like gets to you a little bit, and you don't want to get injured and stuff like that, but you want to keep advancing. So I totally get it. Yeah, I think that was, let me just read my notes for the swings just in case. Yeah, so if you're going to do drills, start with the hike, then do the dead stop swing that we talked about, which is 1 rep, and then just add on swings. So maybe do like 10. The other thing I will say is keep that pack shoulder in the single arm swing, of course, because it's going to want to push you and rotate you. So a 2-hand swing is always going to be easier than a 1-hand swing. And I would also say the gaze is something I think people struggle with. So you want to keep your gaze about 5 feet in front of you. Yeah, this is a big one actually. So if you start here, you lower down, it's here. You start here, you lower down, it's here. I'm just looking a little bit in front of me, right? So I'm not up here because you can tell that this is not a neutral spine, right? And I'm not down here because this is not a neutral spine. So I've just picked a spot out in front of me and I'm kind of holding it. You could even oscillate between 2 spots. But this, when you're looking down, is not necessarily a neutral spine. Like a neutral spine has a tiny bit of a curve. So it's okay for your neck to have that slight curve right there. So just picking a spot like 5 feet out in front of you so you don't get dizzy. It's the thing dancers do a lot when they're like twirling, they're like always spotting. So we want to spot with the kettlebell as well, because if we lose our gaze and then we lose our breath, then usually everything else gets lost as well. And we like lose our feet and our balance and blah, blah, blah. And we get like totally just dizzy and out of breath. So that is everything. We will have another live on the 21st. That one will be actually getting into the up and the down part of the snatch, and everything else that you have in emails between now and then will be like very nicely curated videos that go over everything we talked about today. So if you want to see it again, those will be like, I'm a little spastic sometimes when I'm talking. So I wanted to make sure everything was like well packaged with a bow on it. And that will be those videos. Yeah. So that I'm so glad it was helpful. I already see improvements in that overhead press and in the clean. So yeah, thank you so much for joining and taking time out of your day.
No, great. Thank you so much. I can't